What's up, guys? This is Tyler with Division 1 Trading. This is the free Forex YouTube course. Today we're going to be going over Wicks. This is part 2. This is a disclaimer. Go ahead and pause the video and read this if you haven't already, both of these. So Wicks, we're going to be talking about Wicks. So what are Wicks and tails? Everyone forgets about tails, right? So when you have a candle, right, we have obviously the body and the wick and then the tail. The tail is just the lower one, right? So if you had like a real candle, like say if you just lit a candle, that'd be the wick of the candle, right? And then down here, you can't really have a wick upside down, or right, the flame would just be going up. So we just call that the tail. Really the same thing. I just call them wicks. For me, they're going to be wicks on both sides, but these are just the proper terms for them. So just going forward, just understand that I'm going to call a wick, and a tail, a wick. They serve the same purpose. So today we're going to be talking about the different kinds of wicks, or just some different kinds of wicks that we look at when we're trading and what they tell us. So what do these wicks tell us? So one of them is indecision. So we have an indecision candle, which obviously they don't really have a decision either way. This candle opens, right? It trades all the way up, all the way back down, and then closes here, right? So this is an indecision. They didn't really go either direction. Then you can see they swing all the way back up near it and then trade back down. And so when we trade indecision candles, it has a lot to do. Every single trade has a lot to do with what's going on as far as the higher time frame. But when we see an indecision wick, these are going to be the hardest to trade. It doesn't really give you clear indication, and it kind of messes the charts up. This example, obviously you can see it reaches all the way right back near the top and then just sells off again. Typically when I see an indecision wick, that means that I don't want to be in the market. But in this case, we had support. All these are support levels, right? And so it traded down through those support levels and then retraced up into it, right? So this could have helped us go short, or, right, the safer trade, once this indecision candle was broken right there, now we can look to take it back short after the retracement, right? So vice versa, if this candle would have broken that high, right, then we could have looked for a nice retracement to take it higher, right? So generally, right, we do see a fake out as well. So just understand that there's going to be opportunity at the wicks, right, of that indecision candle, right? So that's the biggest takeaway, is just you need to be waiting for one of those wicks to be breached to get an understanding of what's going on. So you also have a rejection wicks, right? I look for wicks hitting the same general area. So like right here, we could consider these rejection wicks because, right, we hit here. You see we reach down again. Here we reach down at this low again, and here as well, right? So these are all rejection wicks. We would be expecting price to trade the opposite way, right? And so what makes them rejection wicks is they keep coming back to the same zone and leaving large wicks in that direction. So, and we'll go to it in a second, the difference between rejection wicks and pretty much buildups. So right here we have what we call a fill. So when you have a candle, for example, that trades like this, say we get a doji, and then we trade through it and engulf it, right? That's a fill, right? So that wick has been filled. So for example, here we get this doji, right? And even though it gives one right here, this wick here was still filled, right? They traded up and they filled it. So that is actually bullish, and we can start looking for potential bullish moves in that area. So another one we have is a build up. And so you can see here it was that rejection area. And so this is an opportunity where we can look for rejection. So here we have what I call a build up. So right here we could have liquidity or a zone. And before price gets there, it'll give what looks like rejection wicks, right? It'll give these wicks that really look strong right here. And so what this will do is this will just be a build up. This will be like they're holding that liquidity in the space between these wicks and wherever your liquidity or zone is, right? And then so when they come down into this whole zone, that whole area, right? Let me see if I can get a, oh, it's not going to be see-through. Here we go. Right, we get a zone like that, and you see when it keeps rejecting, now we have something that we can use, right? We can look for it to get to this zone or this area. And again, the signature for that is we're just looking for these kind of wicks, but right before some area of liquidity or a zone, right? And then you can see it hits it and then goes the opposite direction. So in this one, we kind of have all three, right? We talked about the build up, and go ahead and pause the video and just look for all three of these, see if you could find them, right? So just go ahead and pause it. You don't have to, I know, but so right here, we have the build up, right? We just went over that one. Down here, we have the rejection, right? That whole zone. Then the fill, you can see here, you see that large wick right there. Right after that, a couple candles after that, it fills it, strong candle. So now we expect that area to hold, right? This is an area where we're expecting support now. And so taking it back to the first video, right? Say that we just used a pattern. So right there, we had a trend line, and then right pushes through it here. And then we had really just this, it's like a descending triangle that we were potentially looking at, right? And then it gives this wick here and fills it. So now when we trade back down in here, we can be looking for the long, right? And when we get, say this engulfing here, we can start trying to chase that trade into that level. So that would be an example of all three, just a quick one. So another example, combining the last video with Wicks, right? So right here, we're looking at GBP USD on the daily chart. So we had this this large indecision candle right here, and then the next candle was a bearish engulfing. That's on the daily chart. So right, we mark the wicks of that candle up here, right? We want to see those rejected, and then we mark the engulfing candle. So right here, this is what it looks like on the H4. So we just talked about here how it traded up to the wick, and right here was in those rejection wicks, right? Kept trading up to the same area. Then traded down. So that's good, right? We're trading away from that daily candle. So this, here's that engulfing, we trade down, come back, hit that engulfing, then give another bearish engulfing, and the same thing follows. Right, and so right here you can see we get an indecision candle, floats around, goes right below the low, then comes right back up above the indecision candle here as well, right, as well as here, trades up into the engulfing, and then trades down, and then sinks lower till it gives another one here, floats around, same thing. All right, again, these are those rejection wicks. Right there's that indecision candle right off of that. And let's look at just some live examples or some recent examples on GU. So here was that example we were talking about. So let's look at another one, right? And we'll just use these lines as areas of liquidity, right? So why would this area not be a short, right? Why would we not see this as rejection? So let's talk about that. Right, so if we look down here, right, there's really no structure down there. And you can see we have, we filled that, right? And it's just really not enough here. We're already selling off. And then let's see. Yeah, we start getting some indecision right here. So let's go back into that. So when it starts trading up, right here would be that zone that we're talking about, right? If we had a zone, and then you can see here is the buildup, right? There's that buildup right before the zone. So you can see where we should get fills, right? It should trade higher, right? And what was the order? It was build up here, fill it, then we look for rejection wicks, right? So we look for wicks to the same zone, this area. So this one trades through, gives some wicks, then when it trades back down, right, pushes here, this is where we can start selling. That's just a simple break and retest of a zone, right? That's nothing special. It's literally just a zone here, trades to it, back through it, and then a break and retest, right? But it's just using the understanding of the wicks to help you get to that conclusion. So let's talk about another setup. Okay. Same thing here. You can see this one, kind of that build up, right? Gives a build up. Then it gives the rejection. So now what are we looking for? The fills, right? So it starts filling us higher. And again, we'd just be looking for this level here. And so this wick here would help us find that zone, right? Or the area to use here. We wait for it to respond, right? With the wicks, hit it at least 3 times. Let us know it's a valid rejection wick, right? And we have to make sure that everything else is there, right? They have to have a buildup. Oh, here's another one. But they have to have a build up or already be filling. But that's going to be it on Wicks. You can see a few more examples here. But that's going to be it on Wicks. All right, guys, thanks.